in the chat. I am excited to be here. I see Lazy Fishy is here. Hello. Hello, Unlucky Ally. Hello. Wonderful. It's great to see everyone. It's been a couple of weeks since we have done a live stream last. And so today's live stream, I have two topics for you that I'm really happy. And then we'll do a kind of AMA at the end. We'll talk about anything book related. So the first topic that I will discuss today is the channel's 1 year anniversary. I started this channel and I went live in at the end of August. I think it was August 30th, back in 2021. And so that will be this upcoming week. I couldn't do the live stream this upcoming week because I have something special going on. And so I thought I'd do the 1 year live stream now. And so this live stream is celebrate where the channel's gone, to talk about some interesting things that have happened with the channel in the last year, and to talk about some things that could be happening in the next year. So the first thing I'll talk about is I have produced 166 videos since hello Squiffles. I have produced 166 videos on the channel in the last year. I had been doing 3 a week consistently up and through about July. And then in July, I started doing 4 a week because I started doing live streams at the end of the week. And that has been really fun getting to do the live streams the last couple of months. And I have some interesting stats to share. We have my number 1 video is currently at 7.2 thousand views, and that is my ranking of the Star Wars canon books. It is certainly one of the most popular books, or one of the popular videos I've had. It's gotten a lot of people interested in the channel. My number 2 video has 5.5 thousand views, and it is my top 5 Legends series ranked. And then my my best non-Star Wars video, because Star Wars for some reason has taken over a lot of the channel, but I do a lot of non-Star Wars stuff as well. And my best non-Star Wars video has done about has done about 1.9 thousand views, and that was my top 5 most underrated fantasy books and series. And I like that one's really high because it's not talking about popular books, it's talking about not as popular books. And so I was able to draw attention to a lot of new books and series for a lot of people. And then I hit a few fun goals. I now have 21 videos with over 1,000 views, 5 that have over 2,000. And originally, when I set the goal for the channel, it was to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of 1 year. So from August to August, I thought I would hit 1,000, and I surpassed that. And my updated goal was 1,500, and I am just shy of that now. I am currently at about 1,420. So I am just shy of my second goal there. Hello, Mass Studios. Hello, Squiffless or Squiffles. So we have surpassed that. So the next goal is to reach 2,000 subscribers by the end of December. And I think that's a good goal. I think I can even do better than that, but that's my current goal, is to reach 2,000 by the end of December. And so my current average views per video is about 510, which is really nice. We've been able to do that. And so I just thought I'd give some updates on all this. Tyler Scribble, thank you for coming, even though you're not able to be here for the whole stream. So that is the first little segment that I wanted to do, which is talking about the channel's 1 year anniversary, where we've been, talking a little bit. Hello, Old Chum Spider. Great to see you again, as always. In the future, I have lots of fantasy videos. I have new release videos for Star Trek and Star Wars and some other fantasy books. And then I have a lot of sci-fi series that I've been building up and preparing, including David Weber's books. I have some David Weber Honor Arrington books planned to read. I have the Saga of Recluse, which I am currently working on now. And I am also planning to work through the rest of Kevin J. Anderson's sci-fi series. And a few others. And so, yeah, I'll just stick with Spider. I watched the video, Spider, to say the name, and I just always get it wrong. I'm so sorry. So Spider, thank you. Squiffless asks, what's your favorite book? It is by far Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. Just superb book. I'll talk more about that in a second. And then I also wanted to take some time to look at the authors at DragonCon. So this is going to be my first year going to DragonCon. I'm only going for one day currently. That is just going to be Saturday. But I am planning to meet 12 authors, 3 editors, and 2 YouTubers. So it's going to be a very busy day at DragonCon. So I thought I'd share the authors that I'm planning to go meet and any panels that I'm planning to go see. There is one panel that I will absolutely make it to, and that is the authors of Star Wars. Nothing's keeping me out of that panel. I'm going to line up way early because I'm going to get there. But for all the other panels, there are some media tie-in fiction panels, as well as a few others. I have media tie-in fiction. There's some fantasy author panels that I'm interested in going to, but I'm not sure I'll be able to make those. But the authors of Star Wars, I will for sure make it to, because most of the authors I'm interested in meeting will actually be there. And let me just list some of the authors that will be at DragonCon. The author I have the most books ready is Timothy Zahn. I have a bunch of his books. I want to dedicate time because I've never actually met him before. So I really want to go meet him. Michael Stackpole, I've met him once and I got a lot of books signed by him, but I have gotten more since then. And I really am impressed by him as an author. Jonathan Mayberry, I've not read anything of his, but he is the head of the International Tie-In Authors Association. He's a very famous person in the business. He writes horror and fantasy novels and sci-fi. He writes all the genres, and he's in charge of that organization that does the Scribe Awards that I talk about. So I'm excited to go meet him there. David Mack, author of several Star Trek novels, like some Discovery books. He's written the Destiny trilogy, the Cold Equations trilogy, some of the A Time 2 books, A Ceremony of Losses, amazing books. So he's written a lot of Star Trek books, so I'm excited to meet him. John Jackson Miller, I've met him numerous times, but a couple of those I will, I have a few more to get signed by him, but I mostly just am going to say hi to him because I'm such a big fan of his. And then also Kevin J. Anderson, who I met years ago, which I was really disappointed because when I met him, I was told I could only bring 3 books. That was it. But originally, we actually could bring as many as we wanted. And so the person just didn't have the information. So they told me to bring 3. They thought, oh, I just want to be careful. But you could bring as many as you wanted. So I have like 50 of his books. Maybe not 50, 30 of his books. So Squifless, only if your parents, I tell my students, if your parents are okay with it, you can. But I want them to be okay with it. So I mean Kevin J. Anderson there, and Rebecca Mesta, his wife. She's also an author. And then Greg Keyes, who I've only read a couple of his Star Wars books. And then Claudia Gray is going to be there. I have a lot of her Star Wars and other books. Delilah Dawson, who I just recently met, had a video a while back about that. Just recently met. She was great. Keith DeCandido. I've gotten all my books signed by him, but I still want to talk to him. And then Jim Butcher, who I'm really interested in talking with and meeting again. So before I go on to the other people I want to meet, I want to address some of the questions in this chat. First is from Robin Benson. Hey, Jonathan, I'm a very new subscriber and love what you're doing. Best new channel I've found in a long time. Keep up the good work. Oh, thank you, Robin. That's very kind of you. Blueberry Comics, hello. Thank you for the congratulations. That's very nice. First question, which video are you most proud of, and which would you like to redo or change the most? So I am most proud of the underrated fantasy one because it brought a lot of new readers to those series, which I think is good. They needed to be talked about. I'm also very proud of the Rune Lords videos I've done because those have also done fine, and they've brought in new Rune Lords fans. If I could redo a video, I haven't thought about that too much. Some of my book reviews, I record the whole thing, and then I have all these things I never got to talk about in the book reviews. Sometimes the audio quality is not great, but I don't know of any that I would just straight up say, oh, I just wish I could redo the whole video. I don't know. I will be updating videos, like making an updated ranking list or an updated review because I've reread it or something, but not any others. So let's go to the next comment I see is Mask Studios. Happy 1 anniversary. Thank you, Mask Studios. Great to see you. Ryan Proctor says, hey, Jonathan, would you ever consider reading the Dark Tower book series? And have you read or have any thoughts on Stephen King as a writer? Never read any of his books. He is a little bit gratuitous for my taste. from what I've heard. I would be interested in reading a lot of his books. I've just been hesitant to because of that. But I always could at some point. Also, Spider says, what is one monster you read about that you wish you hadn't? Hmm. Hmm. Well, I'm trying to think of it. There's like a monster that I read about that like none that like gave me nightmares. I read the book Sycamore Row, which has some dark themes, and then I had a bad dream about it the next night. That was not a good like I felt bad about that dream that I would have it. So that's one, I guess. That's not a monster though. Trying to think of those. Uh, Cliffless says, what's DragonCon? DragonCon, for those of you who don't know, is a big convention in Atlanta. It is where a lot of geek culture, so people interested in like movies and television and comics and novels and tabletop gaming, all that stuff, they all meet there. There's tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people go. And for me, a lot of authors go, specifically in the tie-in genre. So I'm interested in seeing all of those authors. Next question is from Tyler Scribble. Question so I can watch later. What are your thoughts on Terry Goodkind? I've read Wizard's First Rule and enjoyed it. Seems like a lot of fantasy readers have a negative opinion. So this is one interesting instance where I just am really baffled by him as an author. I've read the first two books, Wizard's First Rule and Stone of Tears. I thought they were both way too long, but I thought they were certainly enjoyable. I have books 3 and 4, and I've had them for a while and intend to read them eventually. I just have so many more books that I'm more interested in that they just keep pushed back. But I enjoy Terry Goodkind's world. I like his themes and I like his tropes that he uses. I don't like his perspective in fantasy. I don't like the way that he treated other fantasy authors when he was alive. I didn't like the way he tried to act like he was above the genre, that type of stuff. Even though he was with Tor, the biggest and best fantasy publisher, he seemed to act like he wasn't a fantasy author when he absolutely was. And he also had some other things that frustrated me. But as a whole, I've enjoyed the 2 books I've read, and I will intend to continue reading more. Robin Benson again says, I first cut my teeth in the Star Wars EU with the Clone Wars novels Shatterpoint and Dark Revenue. Have you read these and what are your thoughts? Shatterpoint was fine. I thought it was promising to be a Clone Wars novel, and clones are barely in it. And it's really just a Mace Windu novel. And it was fine. Matthew Stover has a specific style that I don't love. And it works for, I would say, most people who read his works, because he's a really beloved author. People love him. But his style just didn't work for me. So that's how I feel about that. And Dark Rendezvous, that is one of those books that I just don't see in bookstores. So I haven't been able to find it. I've read most of the EU. I've read about 3/4 of the EU novels, but that's one of the few that I haven't read yet. Masters, are you interested in Terry Pratchett's Discworld? Because my friend loves them and I'm not sure about them. I am interested in reading them. I've read some wacky fantasy and it's not been the best. Is when you're going to DragonCon. I am going to DragonCon on Saturday of next week, so I will not have to miss school. Woo! Blueberry Comics says, thoughts on Rings of Power trailer music. I know it's not a big deal, but it shows how to treat it as another show and not an LOTR show. It should not have contained modern music. I didn't even watch the trailer because I was like, I've seen enough trailers. I don't need to see more. That makes me nervous because I was hoping they would lean into the Howard Shore stuff. I don't know if they are going to lean into Howard Shore. I don't know. I read that he was going to be in part of it. But I'm not sure. Mass Studios, if you were talking about the Terry Pratchett question, I just haven't gotten into it yet. And I'm a little bit hesitant to get into anything comedic fantasy because the comedic fantasy I've read I haven't enjoyed. But I've heard such good things about Discworld that it might be worth it. So Spider says, what is a book that you disliked reading in high school? Can I say most books that I read in high school? Because did not like all of them. Few others I didn't love. I don't know. I'm trying to think of books that I read in high school that I didn't love. Most books, I just forgot about them because I just didn't enjoy the process of reading. The types of books they were choosing was classics, and classics at the time didn't work for me. I'm more interested in classics now but it just didn't work for me at the time. So I just don't know. I can't remember. If I pulled up a sheet of a list, I might be able to remember, but not at the moment. I like my ally says Blueberry agreed, but I think it was just a commercial music to attract non-fans to check it out and won't be in the show. Maybe. I'm hoping that's the case. But I mean, it's like, to me, if you have a brand of music for your thing, use that brand of music. In Peacock, they had the rights to the Olympics, and they didn't use the Olympic music. Instead, in all their marketing, they just used "Ode to Joy." Now, "Ode to Joy" is an amazing song, but "Ode to Joy" is not the Olympics theme. You should be using the Olympics theme. So, next question is from Blueberry Comics. Says, excited for Andor? ? I am. Yes, I am very excited for Andor. Andor, I think, is going to be a great show. Everything I've seen about it has made me more confident in it. Everything they've done has been the right decision. Same with that and House of the Dragon. I'll go ahead and get in front of that one. Loved House of the Dragon. Bit gratuitous, but loved House of the Dragon. Robin Benson says, thank you. Interesting thoughts on Stover. Yeah, again, I go against the grain with Stover. For instance, most people like Zahn and I like Zahn. Most people like Stackpole and I like Stackpole. I go against the grain on Stover, but the majority of the fan base likes him. So, Animal Farm, Smash Studios. I liked Animal Farm, but I felt like it just was a bit too short for me. Like, it didn't feel like a full novel. It felt more like a novella. Unlikely Ally says, I thought Catcher in the Rye, didn't read that one, and Gatsby were overrated, but I love To Kill a Mockingbird. Okay, I read To Kill a Mockingbird and did not love it. I think that John Grisham's A Time to Kill is a more entertaining To Kill a Mockingbird. That's my thoughts. And it's more legal focused than To Kill a Mockingbird was. The Giver, I thought The Giver was overrated. 1984, I haven't read it. Animal Farm, I thought was pretty good, but not amazing. Of Mice and Men, didn't get to that one. Obligate Reading wasn't so bad for me. Yeah, it's for some people, some kids, they like it. I'm trying to get my students in my classes to read anything. So whether it's a textbook or whether it's just a general reading book, whether it's through the library or something else, trying to get everyone. So that's my thoughts on that. Spider says, what do you use as a plate cleanser? You mean palate cleanser when you just need to reset yourself? Okay, let's. Okay, so this one first is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Whenever I'm feeling down, I just turn on Warbreaker or Elantris and I just reread those. Like, they're my two favorite novels of all time. So there's that. Also, I read anything by John Jackson Miller. If I need like my palate cleanser, if I'm just like I'm in the dumps, I need something fun, I go back and read Takedown, or I read something like that. Really, that's kind of it with like the two of them. For a while, it was the Shannara stuff, but I've kind of stopped reading the Shannara stuff. So I'm not sure. I think I saw another comment in here. Let's see. Brett Wyman says, thoughts on Drew K? I feel like you're against the grain on him too. I think he's a great writer. He's just not for me. Again, I don't like the darker side. I like the lighter side of Star Wars. So I want the authors to make them light, but maybe have a darker edge to them. Whereas Karpyshyn, all his stuff is just all dark, specifically for the Bane trilogy. Revan itself wasn't dark. I just didn't like the way he ended the book. I thought Annihilation was his best book for me. I liked Annihilation. I thought that was a great book. And I do want to read his non-Star Wars books, because I know he wrote a trilogy for Dungeons and Dragons that I'd be interested in. Next question is from Lazy Fishy. What kind of books did you start reading as a hobby? Fantasy, Star Trek, Star Wars, something else? So I started reading for a hobby in December 2015, right around the time Force Awakens came out. I started reading the book Lords of the Sith by Paul S. Kemp, and that's when I really started getting into Star Wars books. And for a while, it was exclusively Star Wars books. I got into fantasy, The Sword of Shannara, that I read. That was my first ever fantasy novel. And then I read a few other series. Then I read the entire, before I even started going into multiple fantasy genres, I read the entire Wheel of Time over the course of about a year and a half, while also reading Star Wars and Star Trek. And then I started reading some Star Trek novels from John Jackson Miller, and then I got into all the rest. So that's how it started for me. Mass Studio says, I think I'm behind on updates, but did you say something about a class? Yes, I am a teacher. I am a 5th and 6th grade, and it's lots of fun because I get to teach all about reading. It's a reading-based class. We do lots and lots of reading in the class. And as you would expect from me, I love it. And my goal is to find a way to make it interesting for the kids. So that's how I feel. All right. Let's go to the next comment. Says Robin Benson, you seem to be very partial to the hardback format. Much of your collection seems to be hardback. What finances and ability allow? I love a hardback. Well, first of all, this is where all my finance goes. This is where all my money goes. But also, I have lots of, like, what you don't see is that down, like here, there's some paperbacks. Down here, there's some paperbacks. Down here, there's paperbacks. Over here, if I turn the camera, you see my Star Trek stuff is all mass market paperbacks and some trades. I have my sci-fi trade paperbacks in mass markets, and then I have some others. So I have a lot of trade and mass market paperbacks in my collection. It's just you don't see them because that's not the types of books I want to promote. I have my fantasy books here because these are the stuff I want people to see on the channel. And then I have my Star Wars books here because these are the Star Wars books I want people to see on the channel. And they're hardcover because I was able to get them in hardcover, not necessarily because I love it more than that. For general reading, I like reading of mass market best. I like reading a trade paperback a little bit. I don't like the process of reading a hardcover, but they look great on a shelf, which is why I like getting hardcovers, especially if they're all the same type. If you start adding different sizes like they did for these ones, that really frustrated me. So yeah. Unlikely Alice says, in The Princess and the Scoundrel, the Ewoks call Leia something that C-3PO translates to Maid of the Spear. I immediately thought Ewoks are Ariel confirmed. Oh no. I did not think that, but that is a funny comment. Did you notice, Unlikely Ally, did you notice the Lost Stars reference? That absolutely made me go, ah! I loved the Lost Stars reference. We also had a reference in the book to some of the Aftermath books, which was really interesting, and some references to Bloodline, which was also pretty cool. So I liked all of that. The next comment's Brett Wyman. Revan ended like the C word because crap, I guess I can say that. Because it led into Star Wars The Old Republic, which is Bantha Poodoo. Yeah, I guess. Spider says, have you read Howl's Moving Castle by Diane Wynne Jones? No, and I made the rounds on BookTube a couple of years ago, and I was just like, it's middle grade, which I don't read a lot of middle grade. I've read Star Wars middle grade, and I think one other middle grade author, but it's just not a genre or a subgenre that I've gone into. But I might eventually one day. So I don't know. Damien McLove says, what are your thoughts on A Song of Ice and Fire? If you take out all the gratuitous stuff, it's actually really good. The politics is great. You could teach classes so for instance, you have the book, The 48 Laws of Power. You could teach this book in A Song of Ice and Fire using Littlefinger, using Varys, using the Starks, using the Lannisters. You can teach this type of book in that series. It's just so gratuitous. And that's what made the problem with the series. But A Song of Ice and Fire, I think Martin is one of the best entertainers out there, and his ability to keep the fans waiting for 10 years, it's actually quite impressive, the fact that we're still waiting. Like, not just that the fact that he hasn't released it, but that's still the fact that the fans are waiting on it, the fact that we just need it to happen. That is, I think, how I feel about that. Unlikely Ally says, when I was in 6th grade is when I discovered reading Hobbit, Narnia, and an underrated gem called The Lost Years of Merlin captured me. I'm sure Harry Potter and Jackson are our favorite today. Yeah, a lot of my students are reading Percy Jackson at school. That's the big one that a lot of kids are getting into at that age. But yeah, Hobbit is a good one for that age. The Narnia series is really good for that age. A few others I think are good. I saw someone reading Brandon Mull, and I've never read Brandon Mull, but I know Brandon Mull was in the same class as Brandon Sanderson and Dan Wells, and so I was like, oh, I know this interesting factoid about him, and the kids didn't care, as expected. Unlikely Ally says, have not read Lost Stars yet, maybe Stars, and it just won't, because you didn't know what the reference would be. But if you read Lost Stars and go back and then reread Princess and the Scoundrel, that's when you'd catch it. And it's one paragraph where a character from Lost Stars is dancing with Leia. And you're like, ooh, that's really cool. So Spider says, what is one author you think would be better in another genre? Interesting question. I would have to think about that. I think that Terry Brooks could do really good sci-fi. He's done one sci-fi book, Street Freaks, which I haven't read yet, but I think he could be a serious sci-fi contender as an author. I think that John Jackson Miller could go into non-tie-in fiction, could do his own original work. I think that that's possible. I think that Delilah Dawson could be a serious YA contender if she was able to get more books for YA, because she's great whenever she can delve into that, and she hasn't been able to recently. I think that Brandon Sanderson is just doing everything now, so I can't use him as an example. Yeah, that's my general thoughts on that. I think I would like to see Rowling do adult fantasy, like not just YA for Harry Potter, not just adult mystery novels, but do adult fantasy novels. I think that she could do really good with that. I think that would be interesting. So Blueberry Comics is my first book series I read as a kid were Harry Potter and The Witcher. Whoo, totally different tonally books. Yeah. Harry Potter, I still read that early on, within like the first year that I started reading, but I only read it not because I was interested in the story, but because everyone said, oh, you need to read Harry Potter. But I might. I was like, but I once I got into it, I loved it and I connected to it so much. So it was definitely worth it. Unlikely Ally says, while we were talking about YA fantasy, I think The Belgrade by David Eddings was a great bridge for me from classic and tamer fantasy to more complex ones. I have not read it, but everyone talks about David Eddings. I just haven't researched where to start. And again, I have so many books to get to, but he's one of those names that you see everywhere. So I do want to get to him. So while we have a moment, go ahead and start throwing in more questions. I'm going to talk about a few more people I'm going to plan to meet at DragonCon. One is Alex and Molly Damon. They run Star Wars Explained. They're always there because they're from the Georgia area, so I'm interested in meeting them. Also, Brian Young, the host of the Full of Sith podcast. I disagree with him and with Molly and Alex Damon on most of my stuff, but I really am entertained by their channels and by their podcasts, respectively. So I'm interested in meeting Brian, and I think he might even be signing because he's an author now. He's written some BattleTech novels. And then there's some editors. There's some editors I'm interested in meeting. James Mintz is an editor. Steve Saffel and Ann Spears. They're all editors. I don't remember which publishing house they're each from, but I know they're from Baen, from Random House, and I forgot the third one. But they're all editors of the sci-fi fantasy genre, and so I do want to meet them because editing is also something I'm interested in learning more about. So yeah. So and I plan to be there all day Saturday. I don't know the rules at DragonCon for bags, but I have over 100 books to get signed, and it's kind of hard lugging 100 books around with you. It's really hard to do that. So I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I will try. Blueberry Comics, what's your least favorite BookTube author book? I haven't read many BookTube author books. I read Daniel Green's books, if I can get them. I read his books, Breach of Peace and Rebel's Creed. Didn't like the language in them, but the world building was really interesting and kind of the mystery aspect. I wish they had just been a single bigger book. If they had just been a single bigger book, it would have been, I think, a lot better. But by splitting them up, doing like a novella and a short novel, I think was a bit of a misstep from him. Other than that, have not really read any like BookTube books, just because I have so many traditionally published books that I want to get to. I've read some independently published books that have been fun recently. I read some of David Visser's books, Origins of Wunderras, and also When Darkness Prevails. And then I read a few other self-published books recently that I can't talk about. But I have some, and then I have some friends who sent me some self-published books, though I'm intending to read those soon. So you'll see a video in the next month for that. So Blueberry Comics also says, wish any Comic Cons happened in Greece, only one every year and doesn't have guests anymore. Oh, that stinks. That's the point of, I've gone to 3. I went twice to Richmond and once to Raleigh, North Carolina. And that was great because it's a smaller convention. There's only maybe like 10,000, 20,000 people. but there's a lot of authors that go, and so I got to talk with the authors for a long time. Really got to know them well. That was a lot of fun. I talked with Dan Wells for 45 minutes at the one that I met him at in Raleigh for 45 minutes. It was amazing. It was so worth it. And so I thoroughly enjoyed that. But this one, it's apparently much more busy, so I'm going to actually be really scheduled. So I'm going to be going booth. I'm not going to be able to just like hang around a lot. I'm going to be pretty busy. So I'm planning to be there all day. I'm getting up at like 5 a.m. to leave, and I'm not getting back till like 10 p.m. It's gonna be a full day. So the next comment is, or Spider says, read anything by Barbara Hambly? No, because I can't find any, and the only ones online are super expensive. Because I really want to read. I know she has some Star Wars books that I will get to eventually. I haven't heard great things, haven't heard horrible things. They're just meh. But I really want to get to the book Dragon something. The one that she wrote that inspired Brandon Sanderson to become an author. That book I want to read because it has a history there, but I'm not even sure if I can find it anywhere because it's just so hard to find books like that. Because there's not as many used bookstores in my area, and the ones that are here are just not that great. So that's my thoughts on that. Unlikely Ally says, Stephen King is coming out with another doorstopper in a couple of weeks called Fairy Tale that I'm looking forward to. But without reading it, I can promise it'll be way more gratuitous than you like. Absolutely. So move on to the next one. Lazy Fishy, favorite Star Wars legend introduced character. I assume you're meaning Star Wars, favorite original character in Legends. I really like Thrawn, but I was introduced to him because I knew he was going to be in the canon. So I read the EU first, knowing he was coming in the canon. So it's a weird one there. Captain Pelion, loved Captain Pelion. Mara Jade, everyone says that. I really liked the kids, the Skywalker kids, Jaina and Jason. I liked Jagged Fell. I liked Baron Fell. I liked Cornhorn a lot. But honestly, it's a pretty basic answer. But Thrawn is my favorite Legends original character, and now currently is my favorite canon character. He's just that cool. But other than the main ones, yeah, it's kind of hard. Dragon's Bane, thank you. And there is a store called The Next Chapter. Have you tried there? I have not. I assume that's an online store. I'll look there, perhaps. When I looked at, if I don't find a book in my area and it's out of print, I usually look at ABE Books because it's like a conglomeration of a bunch of online bookstores. And ABE Books, they were all more expensive than I was willing to pay to find. Spider says Dragon's Bane. So they just read them. Robin Benson says, I've read Legacy of the Force, but didn't bother with the following series, Fate of the Jedi. Am I missing out? I don't know, because that's, again, I told you there's a handful of EU books I haven't read. Legacy of the Force is the only series, or not Legacy of the Force, Fate of the Jedi is the only series I haven't read. Legacy of the Force I thought was just fine. It was pretty good. It was not amazing, but it was pretty good. But the Fate of the Jedi, I intend to, and I've seen it in bookstores. I was just like, it's a 9-book commitment, and I'm trying to focus on other genres at the moment, because since I've read so much Star Wars over my life, I was going to try to get to others. But my roommate from college read it and loved it. I mean, it was the only series he talked about. He didn't talk about New Jedi Order, Legacy of the Force, or the Thrawn trilogy. He just talked about Fate of the Jedi. He loved it that much. So if he loved it that much, and he read some Star Wars books, he maybe read like in his life like 50 or 60, so he hasn't read crazy amounts, but of the ones he read, he absolutely loved it. So I intend to read it one day, but as I've mentioned multiple times, my anticipated reading is just, my TBR just keeps building, and it's going to topple over. Unlikely Ally says, Thrawn for sure. He was my favorite, just above Legends, Return of the Jedi era. Luke for so long until recently. Ahsoka passed them both. I hated her at first. Yes, I love Ahsoka. I never hated Ahsoka because I was 8 when the Clone Wars movie came out. And I loved the Ahsoka character in the Clone Wars movie and loved her in the Clone Wars TV show. And loved her when she went to Rebels. Loved her in the novel Ahsoka, which is my favorite of the YA novels. And I'm really excited for the TV show. And yet when she came to canon, I mean, when she went to the Mandalorian, everyone was like, "Oh, Ahsoka's in live action! Oh, this is so cool!" And it's like, yeah, get in line, guys. We were here first. We were the fans before you guys were the fans. Yeah, you guys took forever to get interested in this stuff, but I've loved Ahsoka. That's my most anticipated TV show for Star Wars, is the Ahsoka show when it comes out. Really interested to see they go there, especially if they cast certain actors as the characters, because I really want to see how they would do that. Lazy Fishy says, "LOL, me too. I love Ahsoka now, and I'm still hyped for her show." Spider says, "Next chapter is in Gainesville. Interesting. I will have to try to make it there. That's still a little bit of a distance from where I actually am, but I could still try." And then one of my friends at work said, "Hey, you should read John Grisham." And so I picked up John Grisham, and now I love legal thrillers. And then I've read some other like kind of sci-fi horror, more getting into the horror genre. I've also read Beartown and most of Frederick Bachman's novels, and I think that Frederick Bachman is a great author. So I'm now starting to slowly trickle into the other genres. But the problem is, if I get into more genres, I'm not going to be able to read more of the genres that I love. That's how I'm feeling right now. I have a bunch of Star Trek books I can't read because I have to read fantasy. I can't read all the fantasy I want to read because I have some sci-fi novels that I have to read. So it's a mess. It's a mess to read it all. Benson says, no, I just read that. Unlikely Ally says, LOL, I was, I don't know, 19 to 21 when the Clone Wars movie came out, and I hated the Snip Sky Guy stuff. I cringed. And OMG, did Filoni win me over? Such a fantastic character. Well, it shows his writing style that he can take a character that you hate, turn him into a character that you can love. That is impressive. It is impressive. But there is an element to me that is like, everyone's all excited about it, and I'm like, should you though be? I mean, like, it's kind of the same way when everyone hypes onto like a train about like a book series or something, and it's like, yeah, we were here a long time before. We put in the effort. People, that's how I felt with like the Wheel of Time show, because the Wheel of Time show, all these people are getting into Wheel of Time now, and I'm like, but you guys didn't read the books. Why are you talking about it? So, especially with book reviewers or like when book reviewers started turning into like movie show reviewers with these adaptations, and they've not even read this material that the adaptations. Spider says, "What is your heaviest book?" I don't mean weight, I mean emotional. Whoo! I have some books for you. So, Beartown by Frederick Bachman. Whoo! This is one of the heaviest books I've ever read. Yes, so this is one of them. I would also suggest, I've talked about a lot of the same books because they're also so good. John Grisham's A Time to Kill. That one was a heavy book to read. Let me find the others that were really heavy books. The entire Poppy War trilogy, I can talk fantasy. This trilogy is super, super heavy, like hard, like deep and dark, and got a lot of hard stuff to read about it. But I would say this fantasy trilogy is in that realm of the super heaviness to read. I would also say, I just put a review up on the channel recently, but Rhapsody was a pretty heavy book for me to read, but I loved it. But again, I don't think most people will like it because of stuff like that. So yeah, those are the heaviest books I would suggest. But Brandon Sanderson has an element of heaviness in all of his books, but the difference is that he doesn't like weigh you down with it, and there's so much lightness in the books that it masks it. So Ally says, Filoni was also deeply involved in Avatar: Last Airbender, which I think is one of the most masterful stories ever. My girlfriend hates cartoons, but now it's one of her favorites. That Zuko arc. Yeah. So many people, around like 2019 to 2020, it was the only thing people were talking about online in my friend groups, and I was like, man, I need to get into Avatar, and I just haven't. So yeah, I need to get into it. I have heard that there are novels now for it. I might watch it just so I can read the novels. There's an interesting take. I want to watch a series just because I want to be able to read the books that tie into it. I've done that. That's how I felt with like Halo. I've only paid attention to Halo so that I could read books. And apparently I'm going to read a Gears of War novel soon. So Yeah. Lazy Fishy, are you planning to make a video about your experience at DragonCon? If I can get video footage. So I don't think I'm going to be able to interview the authors because of how many people will be at DragonCon, because of how busy they'll be, because of how busy I'll be. So I might do like a vlog, which I've never done a vlog before, but I might do a vlog where I'll just like show some video of me walking around, maybe include all the pictures from when I meet the authors. And if I have time to interview an author, it'll be really low quality. I will not lug, because last time I lugged my camera, and my little case for it, and I lugged all this other stuff, and my computer and my microphone, and I'm not taking any of that this time. I'm just taking my phone and my charger for my phone, so it'll just be raw audio and video. So I'm going to try to, but I can make no promises. I'll show all pictures. I'll show on a video for sure. I will have pictures. Spider says, any mystery recommendations? Anything by Agatha Christie. I've read some of hers recently. I don't have the copies because I borrowed them from a friend when I did a book swap. My favorites were ABC Murders, and my absolute favorite was Crooked House, which is basically Knives Out, but was written first. Crooked House is amazing. That's my favorite. Although really all the books of hers I've read, I've actually really enjoyed. I thought that Three Little Pigs was the weakest that I read, but I have videos for all those books except Crooked House on the channel. But Crooked House I talk about in my other book reviews. So that would be my mystery recommendations. I have a mystery book that's kind of not self-published, it's independent published by a friend, which I'm going to read at the end of the month. So that book I might be able to get some recommendations for. Ally says, you'll love Avatar, I promise, LOL. Yeah, I'm sure I will. I have so many other things. I want to get into For All Mankind because Ronald D. Moore wrote it, and it's sci-fi. I also really want to get into some other shows on Peacock that I want to get. So there's just so many things I'm trying to get into. I really enjoyed She-Hulk and really am enjoying House of the Dragon. Those are the two shows I'm really getting into now. And then, of course, we have Andor and Rings of Power coming out. Ally says, agreed, Agatha Christie deserves all the hype and should be overlooked as an older author. Same for Sherlock Holmes. I really like Sherlock Holmes, but not near as much. I put Agatha Christie in a league way above Conan Doyle. Conan Doyle was brilliant, but not as brilliant, in my opinion, as Christie. That's just me. So I'm going to call it there. This has been a wonderful live stream. You have all been wonderful. Thank you to Spider and Ally and Benison and everyone else who has been able to participate in this stream. Hello, Griffin. I am sorry that I have to cut it short now, but we will do another one in a couple of weeks where we'll be able to talk even more things about books. I'll leave a little bit on the table. So, Spider, hope you have a wonderful day. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.